Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Kat. So for today's video, I am going to be doing a book review. I haven't done one of these in such a long time. The book I will be reviewing today is Wild Offshore by Charlotte McConaghy. This book follows a family of four. So we have a single dad named Dominic and his three children who live on this isolated remote island that used to be a research base. They're in charge of taking care and maintaining the world's largest seed bank. All the researchers mysteriously disappeared, and it's just the family that live on this island, and nobody has ventured to this island in a very long time when a mysterious woman named Rowan, she washes up ashore to this island. The whole family is confused as to why she's here and what her purpose is. Now, Rowan is here on this island for a specific mission, but she has a bunch of her own secrets that she's keeping. This whole story is about them learning to trust each other and rely on each other while keeping their secrets hidden, and how their secrets actually tie them all together. So this book talks heavily about a lot of environmental issues like climate change, global warming, and how that ties into the human experience. I wanted to first start off by talking about my experience from when I first started reading all the way to the end. When I first read this book, I thought I wasn't gonna like it, to be honest. The writing wasn't something that I got into very easily. These characters were not my favorite in the beginning. I just felt like the choices they were making were so ridiculous. The miscommunication trope, the hiding secrets trope just felt redundant, and I felt like there's so much that could have been avoided if they just talked to each other. And when I finally got to the end, my whole experience, my perspective on these characters shifted tremendously. I realized that these characters are going through their own journeys, and I'm simply an observer. The reason I was so judgmental in the beginning is because I was putting myself in their shoes and thinking about everything I would have done differently. But this is not my journey. This is these characters' journeys. None of them are perfect. They're so imperfect. And as humans, it's really hard to make logical or reasonable decisions when we're going through something really difficult. And that's what these characters have portrayed. They have made some rash decisions, but that's because what they were going through was such a tragedy. My job as a reader was simply that, to just read their story and to observe instead of trying to put myself in their shoes and try to judge them based off of what I would have done differently. By taking myself out of this book and simply watching how these characters grow, develop, heal, learn to trust each other, learn to love each other, it made the experience that much more lovable, heartwarming, gut-wrenching. It was an introspective experience because it made me reflect on my own self and my own past. This book is under 300 pages, but even in such a short amount of time, there's some heavy and sad themes going on, and it really just punches you in the gut. There's so many themes that we read about. The biggest one, in my opinion, is grief and loss. They're going through their own grief, and it's manifesting for each of them differently. Not only do they grieve the loss of a person, but also the loss of their own innocence. There's always something that happens in our lives, and no matter how angry we get, no matter how much we wish we could go back, we can never be as innocent as we were before that event happened to us. Reading about these characters, how they were so innocent, and then something tragic happens and it just shifts their personality or shifts their character development, felt very real. And it was something I could personally connect to as well. It's always like a reality check whenever certain tragedies occur in our lives. The world isn't sunshine and rainbows, and eventually something will happen that just kind of gives us that wake-up call. Loss of innocence happens over and over and over again. It's not a one-time thing. That is something that I've also seen with these characters. They don't lose their innocence only once. It's something that reoccurs. And they keep grieving that person that they used to be, and they grieve how they used to live their lives or how they used to view the world. I love the way this book depicts grief because it's very real, it's very raw and gritty, and it's different for every single person. There's no step-by-step process when it comes to dealing with grief or overcoming it. For example, Dominic lost his wife, and his grief and the guilt and the shame that's also tangled up in it manifests into his wife's voice that he hears every day. His wife's voice is very judgy, is very critical, and shames him and demeans him. He comes to later realize that that voice was never his wife. That voice is his own shame and guilt and grief. I loved how the different themes in this book and just the experiences that these characters have were interwoven again with the environmental concerns that they faced. It just goes to show how humans and nature have this symbiotic relationship. It's so intertwined, like the beauty of humans and the beauty of nature, the innocence of humans and the innocence of nature, the tragedy of humans, the tragedy of nature. It's all tied together, and the way the author tied it together was so seamless. In this book, you cannot care about one without caring about the other. I also loved how the author played around with symbols of water and fire because they were presented as very destructive forces, but also healing, cleansing, and they were also symbols of rebirth. The way those symbols echoed on every page was very fascinating to see because it meant something different whenever it was brought up. I also grew to really like these characters and be able to relate to a lot of them. The character I related to most was Fen, who is the daughter. Specifically, the dynamic she had with an older gentleman who was a researcher on the island. The innocence and the manipulation of innocence in that situation, it felt a little triggering at first, but it was handled with so much sensitivity and care. Along with all the concepts, all the themes, all the situations, I felt like the author handled it with the utmost care and delivered the messages that they wanted to deliver in the most gentle way. I love seeing how Rowan and Dominic and his family come to trust each other and the bond they form. All these individuals are willing to sacrifice themselves for each other because the love is so strong, especially on the last pages when we see the ultimate sacrifice being made. It was so tragic, but also heartwarming at the same time. It goes to show that love really is a very powerful force. These characters demonstrated that very well. This island too is a symbol in itself. There's so much tragedy that occurred. This island has gone through a lot. It has gone through its own fair share of tragedies, and it has gone through so many turning events, so much death, so much loss, yet it still stands. The island is still a home for these people and for a lot of the inhabitants, a lot of these animals. That in a way ties to the story with these characters. Despite the tragedies that these characters have experienced, they still continue to live and move on and thrive and move forward. I guess that is just life in general, is that it keeps going. I did shed a few tears towards the end. I just felt so much emotion in me. Even if you haven't gone through exactly the same experiences as these characters, the way the author is able to emote, it makes it so that the reader can connect with the emotions, if not the experiences. I think it's a powerful way to write when you're able to have the audience connect with the emotions you're trying to convey versus the experiences your characters are going through. I was able to connect with some of the experiences, but most importantly, I was able to connect with the emotions they were feeling. One of the lessons I took from reading this is that tragedy happens to all of us, but the most important thing I feel is to not reject what you feel or even reject what happened to you. It's easy sometimes to just want to sweep things under the rug, not think about it and not feel it. In this case, for example, when Dominic or his son, when they were feeling some strong emotions, they would punch a punching bag. Later down the road, they learn to start talking about how they feel once they've come to accept what's going on with them. When we suppress, eventually it's all going to build and build until the lid pops off. Don't judge yourself for the traumas that you've experienced. We are all victims of some trauma. The last person that should shame us is ourselves. Another lesson is how, again, our human experience, us humans, we are connected with nature. We are nature. We're not separate. Everything we do affects nature. And just like how nature affects us, right? Like when it's stormy, when it's rainy, when it's snowy, when it's really, really hot, like we're in triple digit temperatures. I know there are some people who want to deny global warming and climate change and all that stuff, and you are entitled to your opinion. But I don't think we can deny that we do affect our environment. This book is heavily character driven, so there's a lot of emotions at play. So be prepared. I did not rate this book just because it's hard to rate this book with all these different themes of grief and loss and such. Like, how do I rate these emotions? How do I rate their experiences? But I can say this book has impacted me a lot, and I do value my experience with it. Overall, this book was great. It's tragic, but it was also beautiful, and there's a lot of beautiful messages. I would recommend this book, but again, just be ready for emotional overload. So that is my short, sweet review of this book. I'm not good at book reviews, to be honest. Like, I can never properly articulate what I'm feeling. I'm better off just writing things down. But there are some books that I just want to talk about and just kind of spread the word about, and this would be one of them. If you have read this book, please let me know what your thoughts are on it. Even if you didn't like it, let me know why. I would love to hear other people's opinions, especially if they're different from my own. I hope you guys take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you guys later.